All right, are we ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay, good afternoon. I'll call to order the meeting, the Greenwood Stormwater Board. It is 4 minutes after 4. Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes, David Kane.
Here.
Leanne Lawler. Here. And John Shelton.
Here.
All right, I will entertain a motion, approval of our minutes from our last regular meeting of January 8th.
Move to approve the minutes from the January 8th meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion regarding the minutes?
No.
All right, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's in the old business, so. You're up, new business.
All right, first item on new business, we've got a waiver request. We don't get many of these, but it's from a development along Genesis Drive, not Genesis, it's spelled.
There's an I see.
Yeah, so they call it Genesis Drive. It's spelled wrong on our agenda here. That's part of course, that's probably me.
Autocorrect.
I don't think, do we have the?
That's the one
Maybe
you
they're
saw
on
on
Bushville Road, the same way.
It's on the notice of determination and everything, because it was spelled the same way, it was put in the agenda, we'll
Yeah,
just have to write the I in on it. on the
Everything I
side.
read, Genesis. That's, the development's just a block south of Bushville
Yes.
Road off 31.
Yes. Okay, so I'll kind of give the, since the client isn't on here, or customer, I'll give you some background. So our, Ryan, are you there?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay,
Good.
great. Well, there we go. I'll let you introduce your waiver.
I'm more than willing to let you talk to it. So our client, this is Brian Brown, Stepworth and Associates, and our client, Davis Homes, who is building a commercial development that it's basically a house that sits on that lot. In looking at the lot, we're dividing it into two. Part of the Greenwood ordinance, we have to provide water quality. Water quantity is already accounted for within the master plan. We looked at several options. One, doing a green infrastructure, which would be a infiltration basin or an infiltration ditch that would run midway between the two lots, and that takes up 72 feet with the easements and everything that would be associated with it. Really eats into the buildable area of the lots. So at the time, we were looking at a water quality unit, kind of like what you have shown, and an aqua shield, except we're using a contact unit. And since the time that we first submitted this, New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, which is what most municipalities rely for their testing of these units, a lot of these units have dropped off their approved list, even though they were approved a year ago for the appropriate amount of filtration. And so our request is to allow the unit that was acceptable a few months ago to still be acceptable today, so that we're not having to go to a filtration actual unit that is considerably more expensive just for this small lot that is effectively could be two houses. That's it in a nutshell. I'm not sure how much more detail you would want to know.
Chris, you want to?
Yeah, okay, so I'll give you some
Plain language here.
Yeah,
so we
some-
understand.
some background on this. So the stormwater technical manual and the water quality units are based upon New Jersey environmental protection standards and their environmental team. They have a good, thorough testing of their water quality units. So I mean, I've got one here on the screen. This is typical of what we do have in Greenwood. As you can tell, the water's going to come in one of those pipes, the, like, so, example there, it'll come in 2, it'll swirl around, hit 3, and then float up 4 to 5 and then out. So basically it's settling out your solids and then it's holding some trash. Throwing another one in here. Here's another one, Storm Settler. This is approved now with NJ Depth. And if you can see that number 5 there, it's more of a filtration baffle, if you will. It'll need to be cleaned a lot more. It's much more robust. And then of course, here's a couple others that are on the newer list. So NJ Depth, their certification, or these BMP companies, their certification lapses after so long. In this case, AquaShield, AquaSwirl, they let their certification lapse. We've talked about this with engineering in depth. We think there's going to be a few of these developments, such as this one on Genesis Drive, that submitted all their work early on, and it's probably reasonable if the board entertained, using what was originally submitted last year. And actually, I think this might have been 2 years ago when they started this project. A little more information. NJ Depth, New Jersey is trying to get away from gray infrastructure, from storm sewer piping itself, and wanting to go more green. And so they're wanting to encourage things like what we have along Serena Way, bioretention swales, and something takes a lot more
With filtration.
with a heavy filtration. So, as Brian mentioned, the region, central Indiana, we've all adopted New Jersey, but I think we're all also thinking, this might be a little too much. Maybe we'll go with Washington State has another standard that is like New Jersey's last standard. So we're still discussing that internally. We haven't decided to change anything yet, but my recommendation on this one would be, at a certain date, anything starting now, since this is anything submitted after January 1, then yeah, I think they need to follow the current standards or whatever NJ Depth standards are. But for these petitions, these petitions that were submitted last year before, I think it might be reasonable to do it.
And it's entirely possible AquaShield will go back and
I was gonna ask,
recertify
could
it.
they recertify it someday?
Yes,
and
yes, that's
then they
not very
would be.
I've always heard, I've never heard the term AquaShield before. I always heard the field term AquaSwirl. And if you think about it, the pipe comes in from the swirl and the settling and everything. It's pretty descriptive of how it cleans the water. And this is used, from an engineering standpoint, the city of Greenwood has probably 24 of these that we own. Yeah. That's why I say the city. Yeah.
So who cleans these out when they're not owned by the city? Like this
the
one?
property owner or the HOA.
And they're required by Stormwater to clean it on a certain regular basis.
And we inspected it yearly, so we have a pretty robust post-construction program.
But you'll send a factor truck out, correct?
For ours,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We clean them if they need it.
So down to the nuts bolts, it's what they submitted is still acceptable. The only reason they're doing this is that is now not certified.
Right. AquaShield failed to
Well,
recertify.
it's certified. That's the only
Yes.
Did somebody just miss a deadline?
Yes.
Yeah, and probably closer. Yeah.
I'm fine with it if we want to.
Yeah, but honestly, from an engineering standpoint, I see no problem. And I see us being above criticism, especially if you say this was applied for well before they failed to do their certification. And I imagine AquaShield will recertify and put themselves back into the races.
If everyone's following that standard, I would say they'd have to stay in business.
Yeah. Now, New Jersey standard is higher than most states.
But do a lot of states do what we do and adopt their
Yes.
standard?
All right, so,
What was the motion?
we'll read the motion.
Did we have-
No, it's just,
We want the
I thought she already said.
whole
well,
ball
she
of wax.
can't, but I was just gonna say.
I'll do. I move to grant the request of Stoppelworth and Associate on behalf of Davis Homes for a waiver from the requirements of the Greenwood Stormwater Drainage and Sediment Control Ordinance, Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 9-158D, and Greenwood Stormwater Technical Standards Manual, Chapter 9E, Table 9-1, that require use of a New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection certified stormwater quality measure device to allow use of a device previously certified by the NJDEP, and that the board find the applicant has met the criteria set forth by Greenwood Municipal Code, Section 9-162C for the waiver, for the reasons set forth in its request for waiver and as presented, subject
You have no suggested conditions.
There are
Okay.
to presented.
no, and I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding this? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So motion approved. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Hey, salary ordinance changed.
Okay, yeah, so on the, okay, you've got an updated agenda that shows the employee job description. We're requesting change from the DOT to a non-DOT laborer. The ordinance that was referenced in that first agenda was the one that the council was considering, or is considering. Background, we're having trouble resourcing a qualified CDL driver with a license for our open position. Last year before, federal regulation, increased the cost and time to get a commercial driver's license, and so it's more lucrative for somebody to get that license and then go, drive long haul or for a freight or another company than it is to be the versatile employee that we need. There is a program that we're working with LTAP that we can train municipal drivers to get a CDL license. So we do have somebody in mind that we're looking at, and we'd like to employ that person. But in order to do so, we need to change change a job description to add a maintenance labor position on DOT, and it's replacing one of our current labor positions.
So this person would not be driving.
We would not drive the Vector truck.
Okay.
So that's
Until
he
passed the
she
city.
passes.
Yeah,
Yes.
until they.
No such person. Right.
And you had
three
of the maintenance laborers, and you're reducing it to 2 and 1.
2 DOT, 1 non-DOT.
Is it a salary change?
Yeah, the salary ordinance stays the same, but we will, in this position, we're not gonna offer it at the same wage as a licensed.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the description for the maintenance labor non-DOT is presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion regarding this? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Okay, so next off is the scope of work for high-res. So if the board recalls, the last several years, they haven't had a cost increase. However, we worked with high-res and renegotiated, and our service level stays the same, but instead of $1,500 a month, we negotiated down to $850 a month, so a total of $10,200. So that's a cost savings for that. Good at what I do. So, yes, I'm just that good. So, if we want to do promotional items above and beyond what we do normally, that would be an additional cost. So, if the board, or I request that the board ratify the agreement that was signed by the Stormwater Superintendent on January 28th, or scope of work with hirings and an amount not to exceed $10,200 a year, or $850 a month.
And so therefore, they would still do the same amount of slick literature and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff that they did last year.
Absolutely, nothing changes there.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 I just got one more
And
thing.
Chris, is there an add-on?
I can't see that far because I don't bring my glasses. So a few yeah, I can't see she's pretty her teeth. So a few months back, I informed the board that, hey, we were going to do things a more improved way in the city, and the street department and engineering department want to repave roads and do some improvements. Well, let's look at this collectively with sanitation and stormwater. So they want to do. They want to rebuild the roads in Meadow Glen, Twin Oaks area. So we commissioned a study with Clark Dietz for a drainage study of what improvements should be provided there. Clark Dietz, they presented the report to the engineering department and myself, and we asked Clark Dietz to provide us with a scope for construction drawings for these improvements. So they just got it to me this afternoon. They've been down with the flu. I think the flu's moving around, and I made sure I disinfected the email so it didn't affect me. So they provided that to me this afternoon. I've looked through it briefly. They have a lump sum for construction drawings in the amount of $89,465.00. Once again, I haven't thoroughly looked at this, nor have I sent it to engineering for review. I don't want to lose too much inertia, but I think we should have plenty of time if we wait till the next meeting. They have a timeline schedule of a notice to proceed of March 1st, but if we can maybe kick that back a couple weeks so we can have ample time to review engineering and stormwater. So there will be no motion made at this meeting. It's more of an information.
Okay.
Unless the board wants to.
One alternative would be to make a motion to approve it pending the approval of the engineering.
Okay, I want to see you formulate this one. And I'm going to take my mask off and breathe on you.
Well,
Columbo.
did you work this out ahead of time for that suggestion?
No.
What's
That
the
was
timeline for them repaving the road?
Okay, so there's
I mean, what are the professional services this board is paying for?
construction drawings
Construction drawings for
89,000.
stormwater?
for stormwater and detailed design services for stormwater improvements in Meadow Glen and Twin Oaks.
Okay, so what you want is a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Clark Dietz for stormwater detailed design services for the Meadow Glen Twin Oaks Improvement Project in an amount not to exceed $89,465. Terms and conditions to be finally determined by the legal department and to authorize the stormwater superintendent to sign it in your behalf.
Upon approval of the engineering superintendent,
Upon approval of the city engineer.
city engineer.
I'm assuming that's a normal fee for services. It's not a day job, so.
Okay, so
Yes.
I understand.
That amount of design drawings,
That's a lot. I mean, I don't have no frame of reference here.
So this doesn't happen unless engineering signs off on it, right? This doesn't happen unless engineering. signs
right,
off
if Jim Peck says, wait a minute, that's way too much money for this. That's kind of a checks and balance on it.
I mean, is this something you guys could choose to do in-house?
No,
Or no, this would have to be hired?
Well, or Jim would have to draw it.
no disrespect against the engineers that work for the city, but no, that's too big of a project. They work full-time on it.
You can talk about digging a ditch right now. I have no idea what you're doing.
Well,
So,
the engineering firm will probably have 3 to 4 people working on this.
okay.
All right,
I'm sure it might take them 3 weeks.
So we have a suggested motion. Anybody want to,
Also,
is there a second?
I will second.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
I
Aye. Okay.
I'll get you.
That's what he says, I'm that good.
I didn't say that.
She did blow it up this way. I don't know if you noticed.
I'm holding my breath.
All right, anything else, Chris?
Did you get your doors installed?
I'll do that.
Oh,
Are there O&M manuals? Yeah.
All right, so anything from the audience, either
Bueller?
in person or online? Anybody on media? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Reports, council, have anything?
No. I'll check yours.
Okay. City engineer? Nothing, controller? Billing department? All right, back to you, Chris.
All right, so we have 3 operation maintenance manuals. First one is for Greenwood Commerce Center. We find it to be acceptable. We recommend acceptance of the manual and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
Your motion.
I'll move to accept the operations and maintenance manual for Greenwood Commerce Center
All right,
and
second.
to authorize the mayor to sign on the sign the manual on the board's behalf.
second.
All right, all in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Second one we have is from Lincoln Center. We find the manual to be acceptable. I recommend accepting the manual and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
I'll move to accept the operations and maintenance manual for Lincoln Center to authorize the mayor to sign the manual on the board's behalf.
Second.
All in favor of approval, say aye.
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 Last one is for Waterside Common Area. So that is what we would be in the old Cummins Pond or the
Across the other side of the highway.
yes, the one that we redid in anticipation of some of this development. We still think it's going to come, but we created this manual for Waterside Common Area. We find it to be acceptable because we wrote it. We recommend accepting the manual and authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
And this is the stormwater out south of County Line Road, east of 65.
That's correct.
Again, I'll move to accept the operations and maintenance manual for Waterside Common Area and to authorize the mayor to sign the manual on the board's behalf.
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, anything else, Chris?
Yeah. Pictures, here's our doors.
Okay,
Yeah.
So Suburban,
did Suburban do it?
Yeah,
Very
Suburban
often.
did it, and it was freezing that day they did it. It was one of those days when they opened the door, the water lines froze.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but they're in, they've still gotta do some trim, we haven't paid them yet, but, they're wonderful. I really like the looks of
Hmm.
that door, so we're gonna
paint that one
paint,
black.
yeah, we're gonna paint them black.
Is that a matte finish?
Yeah.
So they were a lot quicker, to jump on this.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
I know how that works. I
Uh,
don't know if you remember when they redid the windows on this building and on the bank. They replaced those huge plate windows on the bank when it was about 6 degrees outside. Actually built a stud wall inside, but visqueen on both sides, just so they didn't, like the bank was open in service. Had a group of police officers sitting in the library because we walked the bank all day long for about 7 days.
Another thing I've got here is, can you see on the screen those tiny little balls in the asphalt? It is mercury. So
That's not good.
yeah, so we got a call from the street department that says, hey, we found this stuff on the road. I said, well, call hazmat. So hazmat's like, we're not gonna really deal with it. So we went out there, take a look, see what's going on. Well, lo and behold, those are tiny little, somebody had, I mean, there's no switches, there's no, but this is in a Val Vista residential neighborhood. There's no switches, there's no glass, there's nothing that's broken. There's just this shattering of you, if you will, of little tiny holes, little tiny liquid metal balls. So
That people have driven over and spread it.
maybe, but it's just kind of confined to one area. But as you can tell, I mean, it's in drain. I mean,
Is it
it's
separating
in
from
the-
the asphalt? Is it
Wait.
in the asphalt?
no, it hit the asphalt and then broke into a bunch of little pieces. So
But she-
if you see
where
that
did it
vial
out?
there, we ended up collecting a pound using eyedroppers, gloves, PPE, a pound of mercury. And so we
Where
took
would a
it.
pound of
It's actually
mercury
not very
come from?
much. It's not very much. I mean, mercury is so dense.
Yeah. So it's really
It
neat.
weighs something like
It's-
700 some pounds per cubic foot. So
Yeah. So where it came from, we have no idea.
was
So-
it about 3 ounces or so?
How do you dispose of it?
We flushed down the toilet. No, we took it to lighting
Yeah, but that's
resources.
Every year.
No. We took to lighting resources, and they are one of only 2 or 3 companies that recycle mercury, and they just so happen to
Mercury
be,
vapor lights.
here in Greenwood, and we assumed the cost for doing this, which was $12. Not to mention our time, $12 that's all it cost us. But we had to, so if there was enough mercury that, we had to notify IDEM. IDEM had to notify the National Response
It
Center.
wasn't a reportable amount.
It was a report.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, a pound made it a report.
Oh, I didn't know what the number was.
So, but, what do you use mercury for now? Making bombs. You can make MDMA with it. You can, which I didn't know.
Who found the mercury to begin with?
Well, there's where we think. So a resident
Called it in.
called it in, and they're like, and they just so happen to have the eyedroppers and the tube that we put it in. This seems a little interesting, but okay, that's just some of the things that we do. I wanted to talk about that.
$12 well spent. If you'd have hired a
Hasn't
firm,
that?
hazmat firm come in, it would have been in the thousands.
Well, we thought about using our big magnet and see if it would.
Magnets of mercury is not like that.
Well, there you go.
Did not know that, but anyway.
Iron.
This happens daily to us. I said not daily. This happens weekly. It's usually Best Way, but this happened to be, you know, John Doe and his truck leaking oil. And nobody told us about it, so it was there for 5 or 6 days, but we went out there the best we could to try to clean that up. Last thing, House Bill 1037, local stormwater requirements and the construction stormwater general permit. This is going through the legislature right now. It's went through 2 committees and it's gone on to the Senate. What it does, it provides that a unit of government does not have the power to adopt a law, rule, ordinance, regulation that is more stringent than or exceeds in any manner the requirements of the Department of Environmental Management's construction stormwater general permit. What does that mean?
It's the governing body.
Yeah. So does that mean we have to change anything? I don't know just yet. I will have to talk to that lawyer, our legal
We'll have to
time.
see how it finally works its way through. It
Right.
could amend and change and not even pass.
Yeah, and they've tried this in years past. You know, the person who authored it is like a home builder, and so it's sometimes you think it's going to catch fire, but in this case, hopefully not. There's our field report. We don't have best waste numbers for collection, so if there's any questions, let me know. That's all I have. Questions?
I don't know why you have a bullet point.
Brandon,
She's not here. What time is it up? Okay.
I think legal.
All right, anything from the mayor's office? All right, commissioners, anything you want to say? Other than what has already been said.
Set it up.
All right. Is there a motion for approval of our claim docket as presented? Second. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, anything else that needs to come before the board before we adjourn? All right. Hearing none, we will be adjourned at 4:37.